Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Scriptly Adapted's Artist Roundtable. I'm your host, Kyode.
And I'm Kate.
Guys, listen, we try to bring you these ever so often, and we try to bring on a special guest every single time. We are joined by our guest, Ross Watkins. Ross, comedian. Listen, man, you're doing your thing. You got a podcast. I mean, welcome to the show, man. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Bro, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
So tell us, we're going to get right into it. Tell us a little bit how you developed your love for comedy, right?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit how that came about.
Well, of course, let me just tell the people that first of all, my dad is a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian. His name is Ross Watkins. And I think just being around the comedy world at such a young age, I just developed a passion for it so early in age. And then over time, I started like writing jokes without even knowing it, that I was actually like writing stand-up material. And I think it was about around age 9 or 10, I first got on stage with my dad at the Mixtape Comedy Show.
Okay.
His show in New York.
Yeah.
And since then, I just loved it. But I wasn't very serious about it. I didn't like realize how serious you have to be to like be a comedian. And so I just started taking it seriously when I was around 18, my freshman year in college. So I think just because I was around it so much and I had access to see like great comedians like Chris Spencer, Kevin Hart, Cedric the Entertainer at such an early age, I just fell in love with it.
Did you have to break out of some shyness doing this? Or did you just have a natural feel for it? Like, how did you have to break out of anything to start doing this, or
when I was a kid, I was super confident. Like my confidence was through the roof. So nothing fazed me at all. Like when I look back at my old videos, I'm like, Jesus, I really acted like that. It was, but I guess over time, I think I got a little shy and a little nervous, but just the more stage time you get, you develop a presence on stage, you find your voice, and I'm just finding my voice.
How have your parents, you mentioned your dad briefly, how have your parents influenced your drive and your passions? Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, just seeing my dad working every day just really inspires me to match his work level, because that's the most hardworking dude I know. I can't think of anyone that tops him.
Let me hear you say yeah!
The Mixtape Comedy Show is like a mixed bag of nuts. You don't know what you're gonna get. It literally is a wonderful mix of comedy and music.
I love the party aspect of it.
For us, it's all about fun. I host the show, I bring up 4 comedians, a nice dynamic mix of comics, different flavors. It's a real show.
So seeing him work every day, looking back at like old film of him on like Comedy Def Jam and stuff on YouTube, or just any little footage I can find, really sets my mental to this work ethic that I need to match to like reach his level. And for my mom is literally my #1 supporter. I send her like all my clips and stuff like that. And she understands that this is a journey that I decided to take, and she respects my space and just knows that this is a solo journey for me. I want to experience it to the fullest extent. And literally both of my parents have been the greatest help. Like I ask my dad when I'm stuck, I ask him, because there are some times where I'm trying to, like, I have a joke and it's not really working, and I tell him it, or I show him video of the joke and we'll talk about it. And then we'll find the little punches it needs to make it, to find its full potential.
Stand up to me takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of, a lot of awareness that if something doesn't hit, it's a good chance you may not get the reaction you're looking for. So what's your favorite part of stand up, and what's the most nerve-wracking part of stand up as a whole?
Let's see, my favorite part of stand up is when a joke works, or when my stand-up turns into just having fun. But the good shows is when you realize, wow, I'm having a good time right now with this material. And I think that was like when you develop that fun in your stand-up, I think that's one of my favorite parts of doing stand-up. Parts I don't like is when you feel like you didn't do your best, you know? Like, you can do amazing and people be like, oh, you did so great up there, but there might have been like a word you accidentally said or like a phrase you didn't want to use, and it just ruined your whole mental for like the day. It's like the worst feeling ever. Yeah. Like I get like this feeling in my stomach after I feel like I do bad. Ooh, and it's just the worst. So contrast to doing well on stage, like that's like the best feeling ever.
So tell us the background of the name of your business, Comedy and Conversations. How did that come to you?
I thought of the idea when I was at Hampton University in Virginia, my freshman year. I've always been interested in podcasts. I never really saw myself doing one, but I liked watching them. Like Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. Yeah. He has a Mike Tyson's, Bill Burr's. Like there's some great podcasts. And I really like, when I wasn't really doing anything at Hampton, I just watched them to like pass the time. Okay. And I realized like a lot of these comedians are doing podcasts, so maybe I should start one. Okay. And yeah, I don't know what made me think of the title Comedy Conversations. All I know is I wrote it down in my notebook. And then when the pandemic hit, I was sent back home, of course. And I was just flipping through my old notebooks, and then I saw the page where it literally just said like Comedy Conversations, interview comics. That literally is all it said.
In college, being on a campus, meeting new people, how has your college experience really influenced your podcast and also your love of comedy, and kind of getting into this world?
Well, college is where it began, really. Like I did stand up when I was younger, but I took it seriously when I went to Hampton. Like, okay. I started doing just open mics. There's a lot of open mics where you can do poetry and stuff like that. You can do songs and rap. There's not many comedians though at Hampton.
Because I'm in college right now, and I never thought I would be in college. Can you make some noise? Yeah. Coming to college, they really don't tell you. For most of the time you're here, you're usually broke. Yeah. No money. Can I hear all the broke people make some noise? Yeah. Woo. Ain't this a hassle? It is the biggest hassle in the world. I'm gonna be honest, this is my first time ever being like this poor. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan. I am not a big fan. And I knew it was getting worse by certain things I started doing. I don't know if anyone can really relate to this, but have you ever been so broke that you just started looking through like old birthday cards? Like maybe there's a chance that you left some money from years ago.
Do you think that there's validity and merit to the saying you write what you know?
I am a firm believer that the truth is the best source of stand-up. Like if it's not genuine, then it's probably not gonna work. So I do rely on everything that goes on in my life. I talk about everything, school, parents, any little thing that comes in my mind, I write it down.
Has the pandemic changed any way of doing stand-up? Like is it or like in Cali, are crowds still in these venues or
Nope. Clubs are closed. Clubs have been closed for such a long time. I don't even remember the last time I performed in a club. So when I came back home in March, and I didn't do any stand-up at all until August because I was just trying to figure things out and stuff like that. And it was harder because all the clubs are closed. And so I had to like rely on like social media, like Facebook groups and stuff like that to find like these open mics. And I found one. The first open mic I went to was in Inglewood Park, this park in Inglewood, hosted by Juice and his fiance Shantanette.
Okay.
And it was a huge, it was like an amphitheater in the park. It was huge. Like I'm not used to that. And the fact that it was outside was kind of weird at first because like one thing about performing outside, you gotta battle the forces of nature and the city.
Yep.
Right.
So like there can be cars, helicopters, planes, making the huge noise. People can't even hear what you say. I've seen that happen a million times. You got to play it off, just act like, make a joke out of it or something. Yeah.
And the more you're adapting now, the better I guess
Right.
you'll be when you start going back into the clubs and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, you're just kind of strengthening your power. You're getting stronger with your material,
Right.
how you interact, how you improv and think off the top. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
And I
know,
will definitely say, like, this time I've been home, I'm very excited to go back to Hampton because I feel like this has been like training. I've been training for a year,
right.
and I feel like by the time I go back, I'll be ready.
Do you, Ross Watkins, have a favorite movie and why?
That's a great question.
Listen,
Wow.
man, we tell
Do
people
I have
all the time.
Do I have a favorite movie?
Yeah.
Gee, man. So, favorite comedy movies, I would say Coming to America, Harlem Nights.
Classic.
I like Superbad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Superbad's pretty funny.
Classic.
Yep.
Then comedy specials, I would say Delirious, of course.
Yes. Yep.
For What It's Worth by Dave Chappelle, 2004,
Yep.
I believe. And I'm gonna give you a really underrated one. Analyzing White America by Paul Mooney.
Interesting.
Paul
Okay.
Mooney.
Those are three of my favorites.
You know
I'll
what?
have to check that out.
I gotta check the Paul Mooney joint out because
You can see it on YouTube. It's right on YouTube.
I love Paul Mooney, man. I think he's a genius. I love Paul
No,
Mooney.
he's so underrated, and I hate
So
it.
underrated.
Yeah.
Tell us where to find you. Tell the audience where to watch your stuff.
What are your
Where-
handles?
Your handles. Where
Got you.
where to get you.
Okay, so my main Instagram that I use is Ross the Comic, all together. Ross the Comic. I have another Instagram for my podcast. It's called Comedy and Conversations Podcast.
Okay.
And then you can check out the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. So just look up Comedy and Conversations or Ross Watkins, and then you'll find it.
So,
This was so much fun.
Ross,
It's so good to see you.
Thank you so much. Yes, it
it's
was really
been
good
a
seeing you.
pleasure, man.
Awesome.
Yep.
To keep doing your thing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kyote,
And Kate.
and this is Scriptly Adapted Artist Roundtable with our guest, none other than Ross Watkins. Ross, once again, thank you very
So
much
much
for
fun.
joining us.
Of course. Thank you guys so much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Bye.
Where do you, so in the long run with your podcast and even your stand-up, where do you see it going? What's the ultimate goal that you have for both projects, or maybe just one of them?
For stand-up, I would say the main goal is to be one of the best.
Love it.
Just to be one of the guys, when you say Ross Watkins, that dude's hilarious. I just want to be one of those guys.
Oh, yes.
Ross
Watkins,
Watkins.
right? Dude,
Yes.
that guy's off the charts. He's hilarious.